What is going on, everybody? Time to get some work done on the race truck. I have been picking away at this thing. I do have now, as you can see, I've got my inner rails welded in, and all I did was drill holes and weld it from the inside. I had to get that section in first with all the, basically my tunnel cover is going to sit on top of that, and I need to know where that was going to sit before I can mount anything else, because I want to keep everything under the tunnel cover. I don't want to see fuel cell, nothing hanging out the top. So this I just kind of picked away at over the last couple weeks, got that all knocked out. Now tackling everything that's going on in here, all of this I have to find room for in the back here underneath the tonneau cover. So we've got a 15-gallon fuel cell. I've got 2 ice boxes, but the reason why I have 2, I couldn't find a generic shape that would fit in where I want to put it. This was dimension-wise the closest I could find, but I figured one was just a little too small, so I bought 2, and I'm going to cut the bottom of one out and the top of the other, and I'm going to have it welded together, so I've got one big tank. That way hopefully I can store enough ice to make it through, you know, if I gotta sit in the staging lanes and stuff long enough, I don't want to just lose all my ice. So this I think is the best route to go. I also have a pump to go with it. This is a truck. We're gonna put a trailer hitch in it. Yes, I'm putting a trailer hitch on it. I do have aspirations one day of possibly doing some kind of a drag and drive event. So whether I use it or not, if that never happens, we're not adding a ton of weight. It's just, you know, short little guy like that. And my roll pan actually already has a cutout that'll work very nicely. Just have a spring-loaded license plate. You'll never see it. I got 2 of these, I don't know if they're laser cut, but nicely cut tabs that I'm going to weld to that bar along the bottom, and these are just going to be for tying the truck down to a trailer. I had a hard time finding a good spot to put my straps on, so I got those 2 guys to go on. This is a 2-liter Racetronix. Ooh, I'm going to drop it. It's very slippery. Racetronix catch can. Really nice looking. It's got lots of ports on the sides. It's got -10 and -8 ports on the sides. A dash, I think that's a -12 on the bottom. And then I actually have a filter, a metal filter that go on the top of this. And we're going to find a spot for that. This is a Motion Raceworks DIY parachute kit. It comes with this big beefy boy here and everything you need inside for a parachute, minus the parachute itself, which I'll buy at a later date. I've got 2 Magna Fuel 750s that I've got to mount back there. We have a battery shut off from Summit. We've got a battery, and then the truck has very little to no storage whatsoever. So even stuff like just keeping the ownership with the truck, you know, if I want to keep some rags, anything other than just stuff rolling around under the seat, I've got nowhere to put it. So this is just a little, I know it's not big, but just a little thing that I found, a waterproof, it's an old ammo box. So I think I'm going to start with the 2 big ticket items that I feel like are going to give me the most grief, and that's the fuel cell and the parachute. The space back here where my fittings have to come out is where I think my bar is going to be for the parachute. So we got to see, and then I also have the trailer hitch that's sticking in there too. So the back end here is going to be kind of busy, and I want to make it as easy to work on as possible. If I ever have to take the fuel lines off the fuel cell, I want to be able to get to them. I don't want to have, you know, one little spot where you can barely get a wrench in. So I'm going to really think this out and tack stuff in place as I go, and we'll try and make this as user-friendly as possible. The other thing I didn't show you is I added these guys down here on both sides just to triangulate the rear end, because if I've got a trailer hitch down there and I've got a parachute, everything's yanking on this back vertical piece. I don't, even though I have it plated here, that's a lot of stress on this corner, and I don't want the whole back of the truck to rip off. Okay, let's get to mocking up. So unfortunately, this bar and the bottom bar that I already had in the truck, this one's kind of too low to mount the parachute to. This one's a little too high. I would like the parachute to come out right around this area, right above the seam. As you can see, there's the other bar, and that's actually where the trailer hitch is going to mount to. And the other one's just up here, like it'd be coming out up here, which I don't want. That's a good spot. You know, right about there. That's where we want it. So this is one of the pieces they give you. It's already notched, and I cut a length, have it sitting pretty much where I think it will need to be. And if we set that there, and when it's level, it comes out right above that seam. Now that I've notched out the extra that was there, that's where we're going to put her. And I've still got plenty of room for my fuel lines to attach down here. And my fuel tank is sitting at a good height. Where's one of my fittings? This is one of my Dash 10 fittings. This will be the vent. But, oh yeah, a good way to treat it. So that is, right now it's a little above, but I don't think I'm level. Well, maybe I am. So I may have to go down a hair with the tank because I want to be below this. And my fitting's just poking out above it. But I've got the room to go down more. So basically flush with the top of the frame is what I should be shooting for. But when I drop the trailer hitch in there, I think that might be my problem. Trailer hitch is right there. So we're getting close. If I went down more, see, that's where it's going to sit. That could be a problem. This is where I figured all the problem would come in at the back. Everything else I think would be a breeze once I figure this out. So I'm going to move some stuff around. I'm going to play with it for a little bit. And another thing I noticed was this guy. If this was an inch longer, see how it doesn't stick through the metal? I want to have this protrude through this by about 1/4 of an inch. And it's about an inch, 3/4 of an inch short. So if it was an inch longer, we'd be good. Okay, so I took my receiver and I slid one of my hitches in that I already have, and if you can see my line on the inside there, on the angle, read it there. I basically traced out where the hitch was when it slid inside to know how much I could cut off, and I was able to cut off about 3/4 of an inch in the length, and with that line going down there, I knew that's as far as the hitch went in the bottom. So I cut all the way back to that point, notched it a bit to fit right on top. So it'll fit right on top of the tubing. And that gets the hitch as low as it can get and shortens it up to give myself enough room, or a little bit more room anyway, for those fittings. Trailer hitch is tacked in place, and I've also got the parachute mount crossbar tacked in. And so this is the piece the Motion kit comes with, and like I said, it's about 1 inch short. So what I want to do is, I'm going to cut a longer piece, but I want to drill my hole in the bed first. What I'm going to do, because it's short, I want to trace it on the inside. I'm going to take a toilet paper roll, I put a slit in it. Just going to snap it over like that. Then I can slide it back and forth. I can slide it right up against the bed, like so, and it makes it easier to trace. That way I can get my hole right on the first shot, because once you drill it, it's really hard to change it. So I'm going to attempt to drill this on an angle. See how we make out. Little off of my smiley face, but now I have my pilot hole, which is right over top of my hitch. Now I can use my hole saw and drill it out from the outside. Now the tubing's 1 3/4 inches, and my hole saw I'm using is 1 3/4 inches. So I'm not leaving myself much room for error. But I like a nice tight fit, so that's what I'm shooting for. And if I'm off by a little bit, I can still move stuff around. Stuff's just tacked in place. I can move it a little bit, but I should be pretty close with this. Battery, a little bit more. Almost didn't make it. Okay, so this is the remainder of the crossbar that I cut shorter. Like this is what came with the kit. And I'm gonna cut myself a new piece out of it. So I will have to try and notch the end just like that. But I just want to see how close I am. is almost perfect as far as being level goes, and I can easily square it up. So we are good. Nice tight fit. So I gotta make this thing an inch longer. So I cut a piece an inch longer, but I don't have a notching tool. So what I do have though is that piece of toilet paper roll. And what I did was I traced it out. So then I can transfer this shape over to my new one. So now all I gotta do is take my grinder and basically carve that out, and we'll be good. So can you tell which one's which? This one's mine. Okay, I got her all tacked in. I also have the gussets tacked in as well. I've drilled my hole, and you know it's going to fit the provided bolt that comes with it, and it sticks out exactly what I was looking for. Like that's to me that's perfect. And you know it's centered right above the hitch, right in the middle of the bed. Love it. So I've drilled my hole. And slide this guy in because none of this stuff comes pre-drilled. So I just slid it in all the way, drilled my hole. You can go from the side, but it was hard for me to get a drill in with the my bed supports back here, so I just went through the top. Nice and snug. Now the last two pieces. This guy is going to weld to that spot right there. I already trimmed about 2 inches off, and I've got my lines drawn because I now have to radius that a bit, notch it if you want to say that. And then I got to weld this guy to the end of it, that end. But I'm going to notch this right now, get it all tacked together, and that'll be it for the parachute mount. Well, I'm batting 1 for 2 on that one. This one, my weld's very nice. This one, not so much. It's not the worst, but the one you're not going to see as much is definitely the nicer one. That's how she goes sometimes when you're not a pro. But that is the mount finished. I'm not going to touch it because it's hot. So, with everything back here situated the way it's going to be, I've decided I am going to run some kind of piece of tubing from the top of this up to here after I get the box off, because that's obviously not going to support very much just being welded like that. So this hitch has to be supported. So I'm going to run a piece of tubing from here up to here, almost on an angle, and then I may put some kind of a gusset in the side similar to this. That is loud. Hey, what you doing? Just riding your truck. All right, I'm gonna get this bed off and get some more work done. About 2.5 hours to weld it out. There was a lot of tight spots to get into, you know, in and around here and stuff like that, and you know, I had to keep getting inside it and out, and yeah, a lot of horsing around with it, but it's all done, and I've got all of my rib nuts in place and crushed. See, all done. The ones back here for the kill switch. Got my battery hold down all finished as well. And really it's all ready for paint now. I've already got everything scuffed with just some synthetic steel wool. All I have left to do now is wipe it down, but I do have to kind of blow it apart a little bit. I don't want to get my heim joints painted. I don't want to get paint on the center section or the back of the cab. So I do have to mask a little bit of stuff off. I do have to take the arms off, kind of maybe tape off the ends of the heim joints. I might just paint the bars while they're off, and then, you know, hit the spots where they got to bolt back in, then put them back in. I don't know. Might have to take the wheels off too. I don't want to get paint on everything, but it's at the point now where I don't want to take everything off again. I want to, you know, bolt the fuel tank in final with the rubber and stuff I'm going to lay in here. I don't want to take it all back out again to paint it. So now's the time to do that. Well, that was a fun part of the project. This thing looks killer. Now that it was painted, I can put everything on more or less final. I don't plan on taking any of this stuff off unless I absolutely have to. But, you know, box is mounted, trans cooler, battery, both fuel pumps. Now I still have to put all my, you know, other filters and everything on, but I wanted to get the pumps mounted because it's a lot easier without the box side in the way. I got my rubber sandwiched in between the tank and the frame. Catch cans mounted. Battery kill switch is mounted. This is just sitting here, it's just for show, just to show you that's where it's gonna be. Because I still have to take it off, modify, weld this one to that one. You know, everything's good to go. You know, I took everything apart so that I could paint everything without painting all my heim joints and everything. And I'm glad I made that move because it looks killer. Don't have to worry about rusting now. There was a little bit of surface rust just starting. So, you know, sand it all off, paint it, should be good now. In case you're wondering, this is what I used. The VHT roll bar and chassis paint. Went through about 4 cans of this stuff. And it wasn't the cheapest paint to buy. Canadian, it was about 25 bucks a can. And I'm not gonna say I'm super happy with the finish. You know, it leaves a little to be desired as far as like being smooth and really glossy. I found that paint dries really quick. So, you know, if you paint this section and then you move on to here, this is already dry. So if you happen to spray upward, that overspray is gonna stick to this and it's gonna look rough. It's not like this is still wet where the overspray will just kind of melt into it and dry with it later. It dries pretty quick and then your overspray kind of makes it look rough. You can see it down here, wet, rough. It is what it is. I'm not gonna repaint it all now, but it looks decent. And if it really bothers me, I could pick another product and paint at least the bars later, because that's really all you're gonna see. All this kind of stuff will all be hidden. But I think that's pretty awesome progress. I'm glad I was able to fit everything, you know, under the height of the box. I was a little worried because with all this framework going on and being such a small box on this truck, right? I think it's 6 feet long, 4 feet wide, and there's really no bottom to it. So I just have to mount everything to the frame, but it turned out amazing. But that's gonna wrap up this video. See you next time.